Session 11, Industrial Relations. After studying this session, you should be able to understand the concept of industrial relation as a network of relationships in work organizations. 2. Identify the origins and competing elements that establish industrial relations. 3. Understand the participants of industrial relations. And 4. Understand the process of industrial relations. What is industrial relations? Industrial relations can be regarded as a system or web of rules regulating employment and the ways in which people behave at work. It describes the web of relationship that exists between employees or their trade union representatives, management, and government. In a much broader term, it extends to issues and procedures concerning employment in any work environment. What are the origins of industrial relations? The industrial relation has its roots in the Industrial Revolution, which created the now employment relations through labor markets and large-scale industrial organizations. With increasing populations, economic and social changes, low wages, long working hours, dangerous conditions, and abusive leadership practices, violent strikes and turnover emerge. Thus, industrial welfare was the first form of human resource management. Especially in 1833, the Factories Act stated that there should be male factory inspectors. In 1878, legislation was passed to regulate the hours of work for children and women by having a 60-hour week. During this time, trade unions started to be formed. In 1868, the first trade union conference was held. This was the start of collective bargaining. In 1919, the number of industrial welfare workers had grown, so a conference organized by Seaborn Rowntree was held. It was in this conference that IRA began seriously in the 19th century. After workers began forming unions due to modern trends of democracy and education. Additionally, authors began writing on the issues of employment relations. Therefore, industrial relations examines the various employment conditions as in trade unionism, collective bargaining, labor management relations, labor policy and law. Now let's look at each of them. Trade union. It is a collective organization of employees that may be defined in relation to its functions to protect its members' interests and to participate in job regulation with employers. Therefore, the TUC is a representative body of trade union movement in Ghana, with many affiliated unions that collectively represent the considerable majority of union members. Functions of trade unions. 1. The regulation of the employment relations. Under regulation of employment relations, we have 1. Collective bargaining. It involves trade unions and managers jointly regulating aspects of the employment relationship. 2. Employment regulations or managerial regulations. This relates to aspects of employment relationship being decided unilaterally by either employers or managers respectively. 3. Trade union regulations. This involves an attempt by a union to determine particular conditions unilaterally and to impose those on an employer. 4. Statutory regulations. This relates to those aspects of the employment relationship governed by legislation. 2. Recruiting new members and retaining existing ones. Building union strength and union power. A key function of trade union is their effort to build and retain membership. Its ability to attract members from particular groups of workers will be important to influence employers to recognize the union to act for these members. Collective bargaining. Continue. It is a voluntary and formalized process by which employers and trade unions negotiate for specified groups of employees, terms and conditions of employment, and the ways in which certain employment-related issues are to be regulated at national, organizational, and workplace levels. Thus, it is an exchange relationship in which wage and work bargains take place between employers and employees through agency of trade union. It also includes the description. The description presupposes that collective bargaining is a formalized process in that there are clear rules laid down about the way in which bargaining is to be conducted. As a result, collective bargaining is made up of substantive and procedural issues. The substantive issues concern the content of employment terms, e.g. pay and hours of work, while the procedural issues set out the rules and procedures to be used by both sides in regulating the conduct of the employment relationship and the bargaining arrangements. Employers and management. The main employer association in Ghana and other employers associations have typically lobbied for 1. Lighter regulations of labor markets, that is, hire and fire policies, wage setting, union laws, etc. 2. Skill development, that is, developing the skills of employees. And 3. Flexibility but no job security. 4. Higher productivity. The states to government. State has an economic manager, wage levels, inflation, taxation. The state has an employer through public sector enterprise. The state has a regulator of labor markets, labor laws. The welfare state, implications for labor market. I now refer you to slide 11 to read through the session slides and also read on the course material. Thank you.